What's up, pretty gang? Welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite nail tech Peaches, back with another video. And today's video, we're gonna go ahead and talk about cuticle application, apex application. Here is just a really close-up of this particular hand. I really like the black hand more than the white. I personally was not really feeling the black flowers on the white hand, just simply because of how the black acrylic just wasn't cooperating, but you know, that's literally neither here nor there. But do you guys see how flush and nice the cuticle area is leading up to the apex, and it just smooths on out? That's what we're going to be focusing on today, okay? And before I go ahead and get into it with y'all, we're going to make sure you guys are following me, okay? Both of my Instagrams. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of busy, so I'm not sure if Larissa was already our subscriber from the last video. If she is, I apologize, you guys. I will, of course, choose a new one for the next day. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications, okay? Because if your notifications is off, how the hell are you going to know when I'm on? Exactly. So for this hand, we're going to be focusing on the white hand. We're going to be using Milky White by Not Polish, and you guys know when I want more of like a Coke White look, I use Milky White, Not Polish, and when I want a Milky White look, I use Core White by Young Nails. All right, so we are going to be a little bit more zoomed in later in the video, I believe, but for now I'm showing you guys just basic application because we will be focusing solely on the cuticle area. But for those of you that is this is your first time watching my video, I just want a baseline and a guideline for how I typically do my applications. All right, so typically I go ahead and I use one bead, I let it do its thing, I drag and pull it down to the end, and it starts at where the tip and the natural nail meet, and I flare it up. Girl, bye. I go ahead and like blend it up some because I don't want it to be a lump, because that will hinder our smoothness in our cuticle application, okay? And then I just make sure all the sides are together, because at the end of the day, we want our shape to be all the way together, okay? And that's basically going to be it for the bottom part of the tip, as long as we have the right thickness that we need, okay? So keep in mind, if you are a person that uses straight tips, you can still use this particular method. I notice a lot of people like their tips to be like very, very thin. I personally don't, not only because curved tips wouldn't allow for it, just for structural and like, you know, long lasting nails, but I just personally like nails that have a little bit of a substance to it and not just like paper thin. So just keep that in mind, okay? So now for the apex area, the cuticle area, I'm taking this, for me is a small size bead because my brush is a size 16. For you guys, this might be a medium size bead, but whatever size bead is basically going to fill up the rest of that space, right? As I always say, acrylic spreads. So do you see how I didn't push it into anywhere, but I'm cleaning up that flooding because it spreads? Once you set that bead down, all you're gonna have to do is guide it. Do you see how I'm just guiding it? Making sure there's no flooding. I go around the cuticle area. Do not wipe away too much because you want your acrylic to cover the entire nail sidewall to sidewall, okay? But look how easily that went in. And if you guys are having trouble with this portion of, you know, that bead in particular, please go ahead and watch my videos on acrylic beads and just, you know, your liquid to powder ratios, because once you get that down, you're going to be able to go ahead and do this with ease. So do you see for the most part how it's just kind of sticking there, right? Look at from the side view, right? From that side view, you can see it's a nice smooth transition from the cuticle area to the apex. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more acrylic there. Probably I felt like it needed just a little bit more, not necessarily strength, but I'm shaping it. So that way when I go and file later, everything's going to be in place. So sometimes the beads that you lay are not necessarily for strength or whatever. It's because you're making sure that once I file, I'm going to have the right shape and the right look to your apex area, your cuticle area. So look at that. I'm looking from all sides because I want to make sure that no matter where I'm looking, it's going to be as nice and even as possible. Okay. So from here on out, after this nail, you guys are basically only going to see the cuticle application, because I have tons of videos with like application of the full nail, and that's not what y'all are here for, okay? So here we are zoomed in, right? Like I said, we start with that first bead, and the second bead, this is a, you know, smallish to medium bead, depending, to each their own. Now, do you see how I gently just tap? I push it forward, I let it rest for a second, because you see how it's also spreading? It's like, yes, I'm tapping it little by little, but it's also expanding. The acrylic itself is expanding. If you have the right liquid to powder ratio, what's going to happen is you're going to have a bead that once you put it down and push a little bit, it's going to swell up and expand into the cuticle area, and all you're going to have to do is guide it. You see how I'm tucking it? Right? I'm tucking that cuticle area, because what we don't want is for it to expand and for it to dry and stiffen before we can kind of tuck and thin out that area up there. So that way you will have such nice of a smooth grow out for later. And then it will be a nice little, like, I call it like a speed ramp. It's like a little speed ramp from the cuticle area to the apex. Do you see that? I know everybody's apex and cuticle area is different. This is how I prefer mine to look. And I like to make sure that everything is covered sidewall to sidewall. So when you look up close, right, you're not gonna see no skin peeking through, okay? That is the most important part for longevity as well. What you need to do, like I said, I would call it tuck it in. That little bit of acrylic that's just kind of sitting around, just take your brush and literally, as it's drying, not when it's wet, but as it's drying, push your brush with the cuticle just a little bit further in. It's gonna seem like, oh, am I flooding? You're not flooding. You're just making sure that that little last bit of acrylic seals all the way down into the cuticle area underneath what you feel like you cannot see. Okay, you should not be able to see like the rim of the acrylic in the cuticle area. All right, because when you go ahead and file later on, what's gonna happen is that depending on the color and how thin or thick that you make that area, you are going to end up filing your color away, and you do not want to do that. So this actually right here, see how I'm doing that? It helps make sure that as you're filing and sealing the cuticles, your color is going to remain, your acrylic is not going to flake off, and it's going to look like it has a fill, because a lot of people complain that that's something that they have to work on. You won't have those problems, okay? Okay. So yeah, hopefully you guys are actually being able to get some use out of this video. I'm really hoping it's helping you guys. Okay, let me know down below if these type of tutorials, these like very specific learning tutorials, are helpful. Okay, so again, small to medium bead depending on your brush size and your comfortability, and we are going to go ahead and slightly nudge it up. You can see it's swelling, because look in that corner how there's some flooding. I'm just kind of letting the bead set, and if you don't know what that means, it means I'm letting it kind of stiffen up a little bit. Okay, because look at now, once I'm removing that flooding, look how I can kind of guide the rest of that back into the nail. Boom. And that's why you guys see on my paper towels, I usually don't have very much color on the paper towels, because I don't produce a lot of waste, besides the liquid, I guess you can say, because that drains regardless. But as far as the acrylic itself, I try to redirect the acrylic from the wrong areas and redirect it back into the nail, so that way I'm not wasting product. Okay, so again, make sure that, see that tucking, it looks like, oh, it's fine. That little tuck motion is really what's going to be a game changer. And this was something I picked up along the way. It's not something I saw anywhere or anything like that. It's something that I personally just tried, like, hey, I wonder if I push it forward, because you know, when you're new and you're learning, you get a little scared to try stuff and deviate, because you're like, well, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to put it too much under the cuticle, because what if I can't seal? What if I can't this? I promise you're still going to be able to see the thinnest little bit of nail. If you pull their skin back, like if where my thumb is at, if I were to pull that up, I would be able to see a little bit of that nail underneath. Okay, so don't be that scared, but pay attention to the kind of texture and the consistency that the bead has dried down to. It's still drying, so I'm still kind of trying to shape and mold that apex area, because however it dries right now, that's going to be what you're shaping up later on. So make sure that the shape of your apex is generally what you want it to be. Okay, make sure that slope up from, you see, from, that's what I'm checking. Make sure that slope from the cuticle area by the skin up to the apex area is nice and smooth. Okay, so again, another bead, right? This one seems like it's a little on the wetter side, so I'm just letting it set up a little bit, right? And I'm just tapping it to make sure it doesn't swell too far this way or the other way. And as you can see, it flooded. It's flooding right away because this bead wasn't as stiff as I needed to be. It was a little bit too much liquid, but it's okay, because as soon as I kind of just let it be, do its thing. It's gonna see, like, don't panic. Let it kind of do its thing. I'm so sorry you guys can't see. I'm not gonna lie, the thumb was way out of frame as well, so I didn't even show the thumb, so I apologize for that. But you know, just keep, as it's drying, adjusting and moving, and just making sure that everything is neatly placed. Okay, that's what we want out of your application. Your application should be where your main focus is at, so that way you do not have to file too much. You don't have to do too much at all. Okay, shaping and filing should not take more than 10 minutes. Once you get to a more advanced pace, maybe 15 if maybe something's wrong or you're just being very, very picky. But generally, application is what takes the longest. And if you're taking a longer time for stuff, that's okay. Okay, you can work on your times. Eventually your hands will just move faster. Okay, there's no need to like, oh, let me cut out this step, let me cut out that step, no. With repetitiveness, and you put it in your brain, I'm gonna move a little faster today. Over time, that's how you get faster. Okay, so I'm just checking all angles. I'm just making sure the apex right here is shaped how I want it to be shaped, and making sure it has the sturdiness that I want it to. And then that's pretty much it. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoyed this application video. Very heavy on the cuticle area, apex area. I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with, so of course you guys know I do have to continue doing these zoomed in-depth videos like this, because you know, some of you actually tell me like, hey, this really helped a lot, or hey, this technique changed stuff for me, and I absolutely love hearing that from you guys. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what type of video you guys want to have next, or that you want to see next. And hopefully you guys do leave me some comments. I know I'm still new, you guys. I'm still trying to gain a little bit of a following, but I do appreciate those who are sticking with me. Okay, so I'm just showing this because look at up close how flush and just how in there that it is. Okay, and once again, this is the filed look. This is what it looks like after filing. And shaping, you can see after I filed, none of the acrylic has flaked away. Everything's where it should be. It's nice, it's flush, it's smooth. Okay, and once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, turn your notifications on, and I'll see you guys in the next one.